Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to pull out the real nuggets of wisdom from some pretty amazing sources. And today we're looking at excerpts from a speech by Admiral William H. McRaven. It was a graduation speech, actually, but it's just packed with this practical, kind of surprising advice that I think you'll find really useful. What's so interesting is McRaven himself says, look, these lessons, I learned them in military training, sure, but they're universal. Doesn't matter who you are, gender, background, whatever. He sort of argues that fundamentally the big problems we face around the world, they have common roots. And the ways to tackle them, well, they can change us and maybe even change the world. So yeah, our mission today is to really unpack these 10 tips. Let's dig in and see what practical takeaways we can find for you, for your life. Okay, let's get started.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it, how these incredibly specific high-stakes military experiences can actually offer such broad, actionable insights for anyone. Military training, especially something like SEAL training, it pushes people to extremes. And in doing that, it kind of strips everything down to the essentials, things like grit, teamwork, resilience.
Yeah,
They become crystal clear.
absolutely. And the first tip he gives, it almost sounds, well, kind of mundane at first. Tip one, start by making your bed. He paints this picture, right, of these super strict bed inspections, square corners, blankets pulled tight, pillow just so. The whole 9 yards. Sounds almost domestic. And you can imagine being a recruit thinking, wait, I signed up to be this elite warrior and I'm stressing about folding a blanket perfectly. It must have seemed absurd.
It really must have. But, that's where the wisdom kicks in. It's not really about the bed. It's about starting your day by accomplishing something concrete. Completing that very first task gives you this little jolt of pride, right? A small win. And that encourages you to do another task and then another. It sets off this positive chain reaction. It really hammers home the idea that the small things, the discipline and the everyday stuff, it actually matters a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he adds this other layer too. If you have a terrible day, just awful, coming home to a bed you made that morning, it's like this little anchor. It offers a tiny bit of encouragement, maybe a reminder that tomorrow can be better. It's like, okay, one thing went right today. Think about that for yourself. Does starting with a small, controlled success actually change how you approach the rest of your day?
I think it can, yeah. That little bit of order when everything else feels chaotic. Okay, so that's about individual discipline. But what about bigger challenges? That leads us right into tip number 2. Find someone to paddle with. He talks about SEAL training boat crews, 7 students in these inflatable boats, 3 paddling on each side, 1 person navigating. And the task, paddling through this brutal winter surf off San Diego, waves like 8, maybe 10 feet high. Everyone had to paddle exactly together, same effort, same timing. If even one person was off, the wave would just grab the boat and toss it right back onto the beach. No room for solo heroes here.
Exactly. And the takeaway is so clear, isn't it? You just can't change the world or even navigate really rough waters alone.
Yeah.
For anything significant, you need help. You need partners, colleagues, maybe even just the goodwill of strangers sometimes. You absolutely need a strong team, people you can rely on. It underscores how interconnected everything is. You need different skills, different strengths, all pulling in the same direction. It's finding that mix, the right people for your boat.
Yeah, finding the right mix. That connects perfectly to tip 3. Appreciate a person by their heart, not the size of their flippers. This is a great story. He talks about this one boat crew they called the Munchkin crew. None of the guys were taller than 5'5". And they were this incredibly diverse group, Native American, African American, Polish American, Greek, Italian, a couple of guys from the Midwest. People apparently mock them because their swim fins look small on them. But guess what? They consistently outperformed all the other crews, the ones with the big, tall guys.
Yeah, it's a brilliant example. But McRaven points out that SEAL training was this incredible, great equalizer. Your background, your race, your social status, none of it mattered once you hit the surf. The only thing that counted was your will to succeed, your determination, your heart. It really forces you to value that inner drive over any kind of superficial quality. And it makes you think, right, how often do we judge people, maybe potential teammates or colleagues, based on how they look or where they come from instead of their actual grit? We need to look deeper.
It's such a powerful point. And speaking of things not always being what they seem, or maybe things not going perfectly, let's talk tip 4. Get over being a sugar cookie and keep moving forward. Okay, so this sugar cookie thing. He describes the uniform inspection. You'd spend ages getting everything perfect, hat starched, uniform immaculate, belt buckle shining. But no matter how perfect it was, the instructors always found fault. Always. And the punishment. Run fully dressed into the cold ocean, then immediately roll around on the sandy beach until you were completely coated, wet, cold, sandy, miserable for the rest of the day. That's the sugar
Oh,
cookie.
yeah. Sounds awful.
Right. And the key thing McRaven noticed was this. The instructors never let anyone pass perfectly. It was designed to be failed. The recruits who couldn't handle that, the ones who got frustrated that their best effort wasn't good enough or that it felt unfair, those were the ones who often quit.
And there's the lesson. It's the tough one. Sometimes, no matter how well you prepare, no matter how brilliantly you perform, life's just it's gonna dump you in the surf and roll you in the sand. It's gonna feel unfair. Things won't go your way. The point isn't to expect fairness or constant validation. It's about developing the resilience to accept that, yeah, sometimes you're the sugar cookie and you just have to shake it off and keep moving forward. Don't let it stop you.
That mental toughness.
Wow. Okay. From unavoidable setbacks to, well, earned extra hardship. Tip 5. Don't be afraid of the circus.
Oh.
So in training, if you failed to meet the time standards on certain physical tests, the swims, the runs, the obstacle course, your name went on the circus list. The circus meant 2 extra hours of calisthenics. Intense stuff, designed purely to wear you down physically and mentally to make you want to quit. Nobody wanted to be on the circus list. It meant more pain, more fatigue.
Yeah. Sounds like something to avoid at all costs.
You'd think so. But McRaven observed something interesting, almost paradoxical. The recruits who ended up on the circus list repeatedly, the ones who kept failing and getting this extra punishment, over time they actually got stronger. Physically stronger, yes, but also mentally tougher.
Ah, so the thing designed to break them actually ended up building them up. And that translates so directly, doesn't it? Life is going to throw circuses at you. You will fail sometimes. Often, maybe, it'll be discouraging, it'll test your resolve. But those challenges, those extra hurdles, those moments where you have to dig deeper, that's precisely where strength is forged. It's about reframing it. Don't fear the setbacks. See them as, well, extra training sessions for your resilience.
Embrace the suck, as they say. Okay, so resilience is key. But sometimes, maybe the standard way is the problem. Tip 6. Slide down the obstacle head first sometimes. This involves the obstacle course again. There was this one particularly tough obstacle. A 200-foot slide down a rope from a high tower to a lower one. The standard technique for years was to go underneath the rope hand over hand. There was this record time set way back in 1977 that everyone thought was basically unbeatable using that method.
Okay, sounds standard enough.
Right. But then one student did something completely different. Instead of going underneath, he launched himself onto the top of the rope head first and kind of shimmied his way down. It looked incredibly dangerous, totally unconventional. People thought he was crazy, maybe risking getting disqualified.
Wow, that takes guts.
Totally. But he absolutely shattered the record, cut the time basically in half.
Now, that is interesting. That's where it gets really good. The lesson here is all about innovation and calculated risk. Sometimes, to make a real breakthrough, you can't just follow the established procedure. You have to be willing to challenge the norms, to think differently, maybe even do something that looks a little crazy or dangerous to others. It's about questioning those accepted limits. Are they real limits or just the way things have always been done? It's not about being reckless, right? It's about smart disruption.
Smart disruption, I like that. Okay, from challenging convention to facing outright threats. Tip 7, don't back down from the sharks. McRaven talks about doing night swims off San Clemente Island, which apparently is a breeding ground for great white sharks. Yikes.
Yeah, not exactly a relaxing midnight dip.
Not at all. And the instructor's advice was, well, memorable. They'd say, no student has ever been eaten by a shark, to the best of our knowledge.
Oh, that's reassuring.
Right. But then they'd say, if a shark starts circling you, stay calm. Don't panic. Don't swim away frantically. And if it actually comes for you, if it attacks, punch it in the snout. Square in the snout.
Hit the shark on the nose. Got it. But the metaphor here is powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are all kinds of sharks in life.
Yeah.
Big challenges, intimidating people, overwhelming situations, maybe even your own deep-seated fears. You can't always avoid them. To get where you want to go, sometimes you have to swim in those waters. And if they come at you, you can't just curl up. You have to be prepared to stand your ground to confront them directly. It's about courage in the face of real or perceived danger.
Facing the danger head on. That leads to tip 8. Be your best in the darkest moments. This one is intense. He describes a simulated underwater ship attack mission. The goal is to swim maybe 2 miles underwater, using only a compass and a depth gauge, find an enemy ship, and plant a mock limpet mine on its hull. Near the surface, there's some light, but as you get closer to the ship, the huge steel hull blocks out all the ambient light. It gets completely dark, pitch black.
Okay, that sounds disorienting.
Extremely. And the target, the keel, the very bottommost point of the ship. It's the deepest, darkest part. Down there, the noise from the ship's engines and machinery is deafening, makes it even harder to think straight. Total sensory overload in complete darkness.
Wow. So maximum difficulty. Exactly. And every SEAL knows, McRaven says, that this moment under the keel, in the absolute darkest, most confusing part of the mission, that's precisely when you have to be your absolute best. You need to be calm, focused. You need all your skills, all your training, all your physical strength, and just pure inner resolve. It's a direct parallel to life, right? We all face dark times, moments of crisis, loss, confusion, where everything feels overwhelming. And it's in those moments, the darkest ones, that you need to dig deep and bring forth your best self. Your peak performance is required when the pressure is highest.
Finding strength in the absolute depths. That's powerful. And sometimes that strength, that hope, has to come from somewhere unexpected. Tip 9. Start singing when you're up to your neck in mud. This comes from Hell Week, which sounds exactly like what it is. 6 days, almost no sleep, constant harassment, brutal physical exertion. He focuses on one particularly miserable evolution during Hell Week. On Wednesday, typically the breaking point for many, it's called the mud flats. Imagine spending 15 hours overnight, mostly submerged in freezing cold, thick, swampy mud. It gets up to your neck, the wind is howling, you're exhausted, you're miserable.
It sounds soul-crushing.
Totally. And in McRaven's story, the instructors are trying to get people to quit. They tell the group shivering in the mud, if just 5 of you quit right now, the rest of you can get out. People are moaning, teeth chattering. There's still like 8 hours to go until sunrise. It seems hopeless. And then one lone voice starts singing. Off key, probably terrible, but singing with enthusiasm.
Just one person.
Yeah. Then another joined in, and another. The instructors yelled at them to shut up, threatened them with more time in the mud, but they kept singing. And McRaven says somehow, miraculously, the mud started to feel a bit warmer. The wind didn't seem quite as biting. Dawn felt a little closer. The singing gave them hope.
Wow. That gives me chills just hearing it. It's about the incredible power of one single person, isn't it?
Right.
The power to shift the entire mood, to inject hope into a seemingly hopeless situation just through their own spirit. McRaven connects this to historical figures: Washington, Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr., Mandela, Malala Yousafzai, people who, through their own courage and hope, inspired countless others. It shows that even in the absolute worst circumstances, one voice, one act of defiance or optimism can change everything for the group. It's about finding that inner song, maybe, and sharing it.
Finding your song in the mud. I love that. Okay, finally, we get to the last piece of advice, the ultimate bottom line in SEAL training. Tip 10. Never, ever ring the bell. At the center of the SEAL training compound, there's a brass bell. It hangs there for everyone to see. And ringing that bell means one thing. You quit. You're done. All the pain stops immediately. No more freezing swims, no more obstacle courses, no more mud flats. Just ring the bell and you can walk away from all the suffering. It's always there, that option.
The ultimate temptation, right when things are hardest. Exactly. And the message is crystal clear. Persistence. If you want to achieve something truly difficult, if you want to change yourself or change the world, you simply cannot give up. You have to endure the hardship. You have to push through the pain, ignore the temptation to take the easy way out. The commitment to the goal has to be stronger than the desire to escape the struggle. Never ring that bell.
Wow. 10 powerful lessons, forged in some seriously extreme conditions. But when you lay them all out, they really do offer this roadmap almost. It's clear the path McRaven outlines isn't easy, changing yourself, changing the world, but these principles make it feel, well, achievable.
Yeah, absolutely. If you boil it down, the core actions are right there. Start your day with purpose, even small. Build your team. You can't do it alone. Respect everyone based on their heart, not appearances. Accept that life isn't fair. Get tough when you fail. Don't be afraid to innovate and take smart risks. Stand tall when facing threats. Perform your best when things are darkest. Find hope and be hope for others. And underpinning it all, never ever give up.
McRaven wraps it up so powerfully, too. He says, basically, if you do these things, if you live by these principles, then future generations, they'll inherit a much better world than the one we have now. And something that starts small, maybe just with you making your bed, can actually ripple outwards and change the world. So here's something to think about. What's one small, consistent action you could start today? Something that not only helps you, metaphorically, make your own bed for a better personal tomorrow, but that might just start a ripple towards a better world for everyone else, too.